So I came across an article about quarantine recently that I really wanted to share with you guys. To quote it, "The larger and even more troubling question is whether involuntary detention for quarantine purposes should be enforceable at all. The legal theorist Jennifer Elsey has drawn parallels between the rights of the quarantined and those of American citizens who have been deemed enemy combatants. Both medically quarantined subjects and detained terrorist suspects are examples," Elsey's work suggests, "of how the rights of citizens can be put on hold for indefinite periods of time. If being held in a state of quarantine is legally comparable to being held as a prisoner at Guantanamo Bay, is quarantine something we should trust to protect us, or is it something we actually need protection from?"
A just question, my liege.
Wow, what a good point. Is this from LouRockwell.com? No. What? It's from the New Yorker? That New Yorker? Wow, I'm impressed. They're taking a bold stance with this one and... Oh, it's from 2014.
Well, we have to point out the hypocrisy, especially...
In the very next paragraph, the article states, "The ACLU has argued that trading liberty for security in the event of a pandemic is not only undesirable, but also constitutionally dangerous and unnecessary." In 2008, the legal scholars George J. Annis, Wendy K. Mariner, and Wendy E. Parmit warned of the false premise that public health is a law enforcement or national security problem that can be solved by limiting the rights and liberties of affected individuals. Of course, esteemed leftist publications like The New Yorker would now never entertain the idea that there's any sort of civil liberties issue with mass involuntary quarantine or stay-at-home orders, because to do so would be unscientific, and probably a conspiracy theory, too. But what changed? Well, to be charitable, COVID-19 is not Ebola. It's killed a lot more people overall. As I'm writing this, COVID has killed about 330,000 Americans over the course of 2 seasons, according to the CDC's estimate, which means that it's stacking bodies a little more than twice as fast as the regular flu did in the 2017-2018 season, when 80,000 Americans died. Isn't that a little funny, though? That was a particularly bad flu season, but did you notice the flu at all that year? Maybe you had it, called in sick from work one day, but other than that, you probably didn't even think about it. If at that time you had pulled a person off the street and asked them what should be done if the flu got twice or even 3 or 4 times as bad, do you think they would have said that society should be shut down, people should have their livelihoods taken away, and everyone should be confined to their homes as we live under martial law for a year? Probably not. That would be a really weird thing to say. But that is what happened. That's the world we're living in. And God forbid you should have anything to say about it, because if you want to end the lockdown, that must mean you want more people to die. Earlier this year, Mark Zuckerberg went on Good Morning America to let everyone know that groups attempting to organize anti-lockdown protests would be shut down by Facebook for spreading harmful misinformation.
How do you deal with the fact that Facebook is now being used to organize a lot of these protests to defy social distancing, defy the social distancing guidelines in states? Is somebody trying to organize something like that, does that qualify as harmful information?
We do classify that as harmful misinformation, and we take that down.
Very brave of you to take that stand, Mark. I'm sure it has nothing to do with the fact that your company's profits have increased dramatically from the lockdown, since people now have little to do but stare at their smartphones all day. Similarly, Jeff Bezos has been raking it in as the government forcibly drives all of his smaller brick-and-mortar competitors out of business. None of this should be any more surprising than the endless examples of pro-lockdown politicians violating their own laws. The state and the elite class that controls it are not interested in your freedom or livelihood. These things are inconveniences to them. People buy into this mythology that the state is set up to work for them, whether it's protecting them from crime or protecting them from disease. In reality, though, a modern politician doesn't work for you any more than a medieval king worked for a peasant. Yes, states have to be somewhat responsive to public opinion. There's always that balance of power. Even a medieval king couldn't just command every woman in the kingdom to sleep with him, because he would be overthrown.
I come to claim the right of prima nocta. As lord of these lands, I will bless this marriage by taking the bride into my bed on the first night of her union. Oh, by God, you will not!
Democracy is no different. The state exists to serve those who wield it, and that's not you.
You cannot wield it. None of us can. The One Ring answers to Sauron alone.
The lockdowns have been a great step in establishing that your liberty and autonomy aren't really rights in the eyes of the state. They're privileges, which can be revoked anytime they're inconvenient. And all these esteemed publications like The New Yorker, which hold the official canon ideology of everything that's good and everything that's bad, they'll make whatever revisions they need to that ideology in order to leverage social pressure against anyone who's not going along with this, anyone who has something to say about their rights being taken away. And it doesn't stop at social pressure and propaganda, of course. As we've seen again and again, the state's enforcers will be only too happy to arrest you for non-compliance with the lockdowns or the mask and social distancing mandates, and the elite-controlled media will gleefully cheer them on. New York City took this authoritarianism particularly far, setting up rat lines for snitches to report their fellow Americans for the crime of trying to live a normal life. But these disturbing trends are not limited to New York. This video comes from Texas, and while not a lot of background information is available, the story seems to be that this man called 911 saying he felt sick, and was then violently forced to receive some kind of treatment, despite trying to leave. It's not clear from the video whether the man had COVID-19, but ultimately that's irrelevant, because as the vaccine rolls out, this will be anyone who doesn't want it if the COVID statists get their way. Before I play the video, be warned that it will be highly upsetting to anyone who's not an authoritarian sociopath.
For you sticking into me, I want a lawyer up here. You can't do that. Am I under arrest? Am I under arrest?
No, not under arrest.
Well, how can you force me to do something?
So, James, try not to.
So the doctors talked to you. They did not feel like you have the capacity to make medical decisions based off their discussion with you. And so...
How do I not have that?
That's the
I'm a grown man now. It don't work like that. You can't make me get on the bed, bro. I'm not a prisoner.
What, dude?
I'm in America, bro. This is a free country. I know my rights.
Okay.
Get away from me. Please, can I have my personal space?
Okay.
I want my space, bro.
Step back to get on.
Do not mess with me, y'all. Please.
Come on, James.
Please, I'm asking you. I'm begging you, bro. Please leave me alone, bro.
Not until you get on the bed.
Anybody know a lawyer, bro? Somebody send me a lawyer? Bro, no!
Come on, James.
It don't work like that, man. This shit ain't right, man.
Stop. Relax. Stop. I'm not choking you.
You choking me, bro.
Stop.
You're choking me, bro.
Stop.
Help!
Stop.
Help, man. This shit ain't right, bro.
Stop.
This ain't right.
I hate to end a video on a bleak note like this, but it's very important to viscerally understand the nature of what we're up against. This is why we fight. Start getting organized. As for how, check out our series on libertarian Leninism. Do you think the corona lockdowns will ease as the election fades? Let us know in the comments. I'll be back next week with another video. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications if you'd like to see more content like this. Until then, stay safe, comrades. Peace to you and yours.